to the Blockchain Mastery Podcast. My name is Titilayo. So I know you can see Tobi Alli on your screen already, and that's because I just love his setup. Wow, I love the setup he has, and
Thank you very much.
we've already started the conversation. But whenever we go live on the Blockchain Mastery Podcast, is because we're doing what we can to share of course, technology and the opportunities and possibilities for the future. Today, it's all about blockchain wealth management and social capital. Tobi Ali, you're just amazing. Thank you so much. Let me make your head
Same
swell.
to you.
I'm talking
Abi?
to a blockchain expert, crypto trader, dynamic speaker, technology analyst, and master trainer. And honestly, there's just so much happening in the world of blockchain. It's incredible. Of course, blockchain technology has garnered significant attention and adoption worldwide, and its potential to
Mm.
revolutionize wealth management and social capital is remarkable. With its decentralized and transparent nature, so blockchain just provides loads of opportunities for individuals like you, like me, to have greater control over their finances and participate in social initiatives. Toby Ali, we need to understand a little bit more about this issue of social capital.
Mm.
Um, Social capital generally, even without the context of blockchain, and then, of course, how it relates to the blockchain field. Talk to us, boss.
Yes. So thank you for having me again, Titi, the billionaire Titi. That's my own customized name for you. All right. Yeah. So basically, one of the most important things about crypto, not even crypto, about blockchain is this. I'm one of those few people who like to go straight to the point. I don't like what's the word now? I don't like just beating around the bush or trying to uh, be what I'm not. Most of us are in that space, right? Sincerely, not just because of the technology, but because of what the technology has to offer. And one of the advantages of blockchain, I mean, there is a lot of advantages in blockchain, but one of the things that makes blockchain very exciting to people like us, especially those interested in finance, those interested in wealth management or creating of wealth, is that it gives us the opportunity to be able to tokenize wealth. And it gives us also the opportunity to be able to do everything we do in a financial space, but at a much quicker speed with much better transparency. And it brings the whole world. In fact, it brings the whole world of finance, the whole world of possibilities of almost all industries. And it has made it so easy that anyone from any part of the world can plug into the blockchain and take advantage of a lot of financial, services that they probably normally would need a particular amount of money or a particular kind of expertise for them to get into. And that space is one of the reasons why even the banking sector right now is already indirectly integrating some blockchain parts even into their system. And I see a future where even banks in the future will need to now start incorporating things like smart contracts and some other things that blockchain has to offer, because it's a financial revolution. It's a revolution itself, and its ability has it has the ability to revolutionize banking and finance, and also, like you mentioned, social capital in a way that is kind of unprecedented.
Mm, mm. The issue of social capital is something not a lot of people are taking advantage of, in my opinion.
Exactly.
Because in the end, even when and I say we, this is because, we've always been in that kind of business where we are supposed to use our networks to build our net
Yes.
worth, so to speak.
Hmm.
Understanding that it's not just about the cash exchange, the cash value,
Hmm.
it's about being of worth or being of value to someone else
Hmm.
so that they can in
Hmm.
turn be of worth to you. Let's
Yes.
talk a little bit about the advantages of using blockchain in this area of wealth management. So people want to build wealth all the time. Everybody wants to make money, but how do you use blockchain to manage your money?
Okay, so normally, if you want to, if somebody was trying to, invest their money, they need like a hedge fund manager or somebody, who they can, plug into. And those ones, there's a way in which they will need to check out the assets. I mean, put their funds into different kinds of funds. But the advantages chain has now is that it has it has democratized that space. So ideally, before, if you wanted to build wealth, you need to get maybe an asset management company. You need to have probably then a manager or a broker or somebody who is going to be responsible for that. What blockchain has now done is blockchain has taken away the middleman. Blockchain has now created a system where it's as simple as joining um, an index fund, for lack of a better word, on a blockchain or on a DAO, for instance. Let's say, for those who don't know what a DAO is, those are decentralized organizations where, let's say, these ones have decided that, you know what, we are trying to build wealth and we are interested in XYZ kind of companies. Now, it's as simple as you just buying tokens, right, and plugging into like a DAO, and the DAO itself, based on your contributions, which is in a very transparent system.
Okay, it does seem like we have a freeze
Based on
frame.
your contribution, gives returns. This,
Okay, hopefully it'll come back in a second. All
please,
right then, Toby, are you
I'm
there?
in a meeting. Come back, me. Just put it on. Just put it on.
All right then. It seems like you're trying to
Hello?
activate power there. You're trying to activate power
Yes,
there.
yes, yeah, exactly. So they must have heard me
Yeah.
talking my Yoruba things. So
So,
yeah, so
so
like I was,
the issue now is, so load sharing is happening even in South Africa now. So it's
no,
nothing new
that
to
one is
everybody.
huge. It's terrible. That one is
Yeah,
terrible. That
yeah.
one is terrible. We even heard that their grid might even collapse. So before I was cut off, what I was trying to say was, it has taken out the middleman and it has created a system where you are able to plug in into something like a DAO that people can come together and decide that, you know what, I want to invest in this. And you get the percentage of the returns that is in the volume of what you have contributed. So it takes out things like corruption, it takes out things like lagging. There's just a whole lot of advantages, that comes to using the blockchain to be able to build wealth. It has made it so transparent, has made it so democratized. Before, there are certain funds that you probably cannot plug in if you don't have a particular amount of capital. But when you use the blockchain using something like a DAO, I mean, no matter how little your capital is, you are able to still take advantage of opportunities like that. Mm.
Mm. So I'm thinking, is there any reason to make a compare and contrast between traditional banking methods and using blockchain technology to manage your wealth? So a lot of financial institutions, talking banks, talking insurance fund, hedge fund managers, etc., etc. They believe that they are in the best position to manage wealth for the people, right?
Mm.
And we're not saying that they are not doing their job. We're just trying to figure out how we can compare the two platforms in terms of wealth management. Which one can, in quote, keep you wealthy, in quotes?
Well,
One makes you wealthy. Does it make you wealthy or keep you wealthy? Does that make sense?
so so the idea really is that if if we are talking about keeping wealthy, if you want to stay wealthy, just putting your money in trust funds or putting your money in a blockchain that will not make you wealthy. There has to be like a consistent creation of value that keeps also bringing in money. And so in the nutshell, if it is about which one makes you more wealthy, is it traditional investment banking systems or the blockchain? In that area, they are pretty much the same, because the only difference is that the potential for you to have returns and transparency if you are using a blockchain solution is much higher, because there is no, what's the word now, there are not too many fees involved. The fees are reduced, right? The and apart from that, you also have an opportunity to a much larger pool of expertise, because for you to join a DAO, I mean, it's open to everybody all across the world. But if you probably were going to do that with a traditional bank, you are only stuck with their, with the people they've hired to be able to do that. And the difference also is that because blockchain also focuses more on things like disruptive technologies and even the choices of what they choose to invest in, the potential for them to have returns, because that space is a space that is just rising, the potential for them to have far better returns than you would have had from the traditional system. I mean, you cannot even overstate that. It's a no-brainer. So if you are looking for more gains, even though there might be a bit more risk, then plugging into things like DAOs or other things on the blockchain that help build wealth is a much better option. However, that doesn't take away what traditional systems have to offer. But if it's about staying wealthy, it's still the same principles you need. Just entering into crypto or entering into blockchain will not make you wealthy. It's just that it can increase what you put in terms of returns. So imagine somebody putting in, let's say, like 100,000 naira, and the person is thinking, if I put it in maybe one asset manager, all this normal one that these banks do, their percentage is small. If I put into blockchain, I'll become a millionaire. No, it doesn't work like that. So even the size of your capital also matters. Also the kind of investment fund or the index, if I can put it that way, because there's also rebalancing automatically that happens in the blockchain space if you are doing investment in that space. If they also have things like, so the same way, I mean, anything you see in a normal traditional investment system, it's on the blockchain. The only difference is that there are more superlative returns. There are more people from all over the world can plug in, and many times the entry barrier is much lower than if you are using, a traditional system. So, but one thing I would say for sure is this: anyone who is just thinking of, who is just thinking of wealth and thinking of just the traditional way, they are missing out on a lot. For instance, let me give you a classic example. One of the advantages also of plugging into a blockchain, for instance, is there is an aspect of blockchain that is called tokenization. So basically, there is nothing that cannot be tokenized. So let us even say, let's even say you put your money into an investment fund that is into real estate, that's outside of the blockchain. And they say, oh, you donated 5 million, your 5 million gives you XYZ amount, Now, if they even made more than what they were supposed to make, there is no way you are going to know because there's no transparency. But the difference now is that if you are using a blockchain enabled system that tokenizes a piece of that real estate, when that real estate will be sold, you will see the value, right? And that your token that is attached to the piece of that value is what is your proof that you can use to cash out. And it is the value of what that is that you will get, apart from probably the transfer fees and other things you do. So there's a whole lot of advantage in, plugging into, that space, for investment and for, wealth management, if that makes some sense.
It does. You've already talked a bit about tokenizing assets, and there's also this issue of fractional ownership.
Yes.
So for instance, you've sort of described it earlier on. For instance, you want to own a piece of something. The same way, a lot of the stockbrokers now, the online stockbrokers, are creating ways for you to buy one stock and share the value of that stock with maybe 10 or 20 other people.
Yes.
It's the same way you can effectively tokenize assets and enable fractional ownership for individuals with limited resources. Now, maybe we can talk a little bit about case studies or projects that sort of demonstrate this in a use case. What can you use to describe it for us?
Okay, so I think it was about 2 years. No, I think it was last year when there was this when there was a craze of what's the name of these guys again? When there was a craze of what's this thing that everybody wanted to buy then? I was not really a fan. NFTs, thank you. Non-fungible tokens,
yes.
Right? So one of the things people, and that's why information is important. Sometimes people do not realize that it's not just a picture. So there was this particular house that was tokenized, a real house, and it was sold as an NFT, right? It was sold as an NFT. And the person who bought the house was the person who bought that house was in another continent, right? But the person was able to buy the house. And how he bought the house is that he bought a tokenized asset. He bought a token that represents that house. And normally, if you wanted to buy a property like that, you probably, of course, you need to, maybe they might ask for laws of, oh, you might need to be, a resident in that country. You might need, they will check some things, check XYZ things. You now come, you check land, you check a couple of other things just to be sure, that everything is in order. Then once you've done that, maybe the money for it to transfer to the person would take 5 business working days or whatever, all those, blah, blah, blah. But this was done in an instant.
Wow.
It was done in an instant. And the transfer of his ownership, everything was engraved in the blockchain. So there's no story. So there can never be a situation where he says, no, he didn't pay my money fully, or I've revoked it. It's almost like it's written in stone, it's engraved in stone on the blockchain that this is the new owner of the house. Now, one of the sweet things about deals also like that is that it is possible that even in the agreement of that establishment, or in the agreement of this particular transaction, that if he wants to maybe in the future, he wants to sell that property again, the original owner might have maybe a 1%. And how this works is that whether that owner is aware of when the sale takes place or not, because he's using blockchain technology, that percentage will automatically, the value of that percentage will automatically be transferred to that person's wallet. And that's brilliant.
It is.
That's brilliant.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And
so it does not only protect the buyer, it also incentivizes the buyer, and the buyer can still have like reoccurring income depending on what the agreement in the smart contract for that transaction is, and there is no going back. Once you have agreed on this, it's the blockchain, you cannot manipulate it. It will just go on the way it's supposed to go.
Can we now search for potential use cases for blockchain in the issue of social capital management or even community development? Because it does feel very personal when people decide to use blockchain, and it feels like not a lot of people are thinking of use cases for it for community development. I know that there are some companies that are thinking about that, and I'm wondering if you can shed some light on this.
So the question would be, first and foremost, why do you want to build a community? What do you need a community for? That will now determine the use case. So let's say, for instance, some of the use cases of social capital using the blockchain, for instance, is normally when people have like NGOs or things they are interested in that they want to donate to, you sometimes have to send straight to those NGOs. And depending on your payment, like imagine before we got this new president, we had restrictions, on how we can, even interact, how we can send money outside the country. You are aware of that. So there's all those limitations. There are a couple of other things. Now, one of the advantages of using, the blockchain for a service like that is that anybody can contribute and donate, right, to a charity of their choice, to a project of their choice, and it will be effortless and it will be transparent. So anyone contributing. So let's say if there were now like perks that, if you contribute this amount of money, you have this benefit. All that will be automatically done. And the only way for now that most people are taking advantage of blockchain and using social capital is this. So there's something called there are things. We first started as ICOs. What people refer to is almost like what you see also in the normal stock market when you say IPOs, where people are trying to raise funds for their
initial
for their business or their startup. Initial coin offering. Yeah. So, but beyond initial coin offering, we have even moved to another stage. There's even initial exchange offering now, right? And that one is leveraging on big exchanges that already have that community. You get? So it's the sweet thing about stuff like that is somebody with an idea, a very brilliant idea that can solve a problem. Let's say, for instance, this is one problem I want to solve, right? So I will not give too much information about that. But I want you to know now that if somebody was able to create a solution that can solve this cross-border payment using blockchain in Africa right now, because the alternatives we have places like Flutter and all these other
Yeah, yeah.
guys. But if you check the exchange rate, it is ridiculous. You sometimes will pay 100% interest. It's as crazy as that, especially when we had those restrictions. Now, if somebody could plug into a blockchain where you are able to have cross-border payments using a tokenized system where it's still the same value that they get and you are able to transfer across countries, right? Especially in Africa, that is a massive use case because it's a big problem. So if you want to enter that space and you want to take advantage of it and you want to build a community or social capital, you want to use social capital, look for problems, right, that a large number of people are suffering from and use blockchain to solve the problem and tokenize it. You will raise capital in no time. Because people also know that getting into a system like that, beyond the fact that it solves a problem, as that the value of that organization increases, and because it's tokenized and on a blockchain also, its own value also is increased. So it's not just solving a problem, it's also in some way building wealth for the early adopters or adopters of such a solution.
So we've been speaking in such a way that it doesn't feel like there are many limitations. It feels like freedom. It feels like there's finally something we can trust. It feels like there's something we can build on. There's a framework. But let's actually touch on any limitations or drawbacks that we should be aware of once you maybe embark on maybe building a community when it comes to blockchain.
So if there are any restrictions, it's from the tech side. So if you want to integrate into this kind of system, you can't just integrate. There are even people who say, even with the AI craze right now, AI has not yet gotten to a point where it can easily create a blockchain solution. I'm not sure it can only create maybe interfaces. It can't yet solve that problem. So there is still a barrier. There's still a technical barrier entry if you are trying to enter the space. Also, there's also a bit of education if you don't understand how it works. So for instance, somebody who doesn't even know what cryptocurrencies are, they will struggle, understanding how they can even take advantage of social capital or even taking advantage of, wealth management in that space. So it requires a bit of technical expertise, but once you get that barrier gone, then it now becomes easier. Some other things also that is important to know, because it's also a space that is just developing and is being regulated. There are some projects that will fail, right? So there are even some investments that you might put in, you are trying to build with, and it can go to dust. It is possible not to go to dust, it can go to zero. It's possible. So there's a part also where people will also need to do their own research, right? They will need to do their own studies to know what they are getting into before they get into it. So it's not Disneyland, right? It's not just a place you just enter, oh, praise God, or heaven, where this is what I've been waiting for all my life.
Sure.
You might just have your village people whispering to you in your dream if you don't if you don't get glasses on.
I
I
was
get some.
It's so funny. I actually expected you to sort of wrap it up with issues with regulatory challenges or legal considerations to be addressed. Like, of course, we're not really sure about how regulated it can be in Africa and where the government is going with this. Any updates?
Yeah, so I think, I was talking about that before I now switched to because I said it's relatively new, and okay, so because it's relatively new, in some spaces there's a form of regulation, right? And the regulation, there's just a framework. So what's happening right now in that space most of the time is that people are self-regulating themselves. So we have organizations. There's even one called Civic, even though it's created by
Yeah,
blockchain people. So
yeah.
and they are quite reputable. So if you have a ranking on a place like that, it gives you some levels. There are also other organizations that try to do some self-regulatory things. So not many governments in the world have regulations that back many of these. Is also why you need to be informed about legal implications, and things like that. For instance, there are even some dials that are not open to people from America. Why? Because America sees certain assets as securities, and because they are not registered as securities, to them it's illegal. For instance, Nigeria, even right now, even though we know what they are trying to do, Nigeria recently even mentioned that Binance is an illegal entity, right? Saying they are not registered. What they are trying to say, they want Binance to come and register. It's not something people need to
Yeah.
be afraid about. And because it's relatively new,
Yeah.
there are very few countries, maybe only countries like Salvador. There's one other country in Africa. South Africa also has some, and some countries are open to blockchain and crypto related, businesses, and
Integration.
some are not.
Integration.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yes. Not even just integration, even giving them like approval or allowing them, form legal organization, or allowing or backing by law their citizens, being, having the ability to transact with organizations like that. There are some countries that are open to that. So even when you are trying to get into it, find out what your country says, right? Even though there are many ways around it, but you need to also be sure that what you are getting into has some level of regulation and is also supported by your country. And if it's not, then you might need to look for some other alternatives or some safer
Yeah.
loopholes that might, just at least keep you safe. Yeah.
So, Toby, I want us to wrap it up with your predictions for the future when it comes to blockchain in the field of wealth management and, as we've been talking, social capital in Africa.
Well, I'm not a soothsayer or whatever, but from maybe that's why I wear glasses. This is the first time I'm wearing glasses on your on this
It's
podcast.
okay.
You know, but what I can say for sure is the integration is already happening. The same way the GSM came and revolutionized landline, the same way the internet came and revolutionized a lot of things. Blockchain is going to revolutionize a lot of things. Now that we are now even in the area of artificial intelligence, the truth of the matter is that autonomous things that will require less human effort and depend more on technology and technological frameworks are going to become mainstream. So it's not anybody betting on blockchain right now is his head is correct. Her head is correct because it has a future. Beyond crypto, it has a future. Beyond crypto, governments will like it. Governments will embrace it. It will help them. I mean, they can do KYC. They can keep data. It's a no-brainer. So it's a solution that has come to stay, right? So and for those who understand trends, even if you are in that tech space, blockchain, AI, all those kind of areas are areas that you also need to start developing yourself for. Even laws, people who are maybe lawyers and co. This is one area of the economy that people should take serious, because whether you like it or not, it's here to stay. It's going to create new set of millionaires, new set of billionaires. It's going to create new organizations. It's going to even revolutionize the way we even do bank. It's going to revolutionize the way we transfer money. It's already doing that. I mean,
Already.
who would have ever imagined that you could send $100 million and pay less than $10 as a fee, and the person will get it in less than 10 minutes? It has never happened before the history of blockchain. It has never happened. It has never happened, right? Look at when this Ukraine Russia crisis happened. The banks shut down. People who had cryptonized assets were the ones that were still able to do whatever they want to do. So it's something that gives the individuals a sense of freedom where you are not held back by restrictions of the government. So even the government themselves, that's the reason why they are also being careful. They want to understand the system. It's a system they can't kill because you can't shut down the blockchain. It's a system they also are trying to find a way to still see how they can micromanage it, which might eventually happen. So it's our future that's already staring at us in the face. So it's something we should get excited about, and it's something we should start getting involved in one way or the other. Who knows? There might be a podcast like this where we just put something on the blockchain where people are able to do donations. There are a couple of other integrations that can come in, and that will just make this even far more exciting than we have right now. So it's a technology that's come to stay that we should fully embrace with our full choice.
Thank you, Toby. As always, it's a pleasure having you on the Blockchain
Same
Mastery
here.
podcast. Now, the opportunities and possibilities for the future, that's what we're focused on talking
Yes.
about. And we've learned quite a lot from people just like Tobi Alli. He is a blockchain expert, dynamic speaker, technology analyst, and master trainer. And I like to say he's a big boy. He runs a platform called Jáwó. And let me tell you a bit about Jáwó. Let me see, where did I write that down? I think I wrote it here. Yeah, so I know that Jáwó has been breaking barriers, has been making waves. Maybe I should just let you talk to us a little bit about Jáwó before we wrap up.
Right. So what Jáwó really is about is, like the name implies, Jáwó. We are also trying to take advantage of the blockchain space
Mm,
to find a way to help people earn without them needing too much of the technical expertise. So we do the heavy lifting, right? So as it is, we are able to help people. The system itself is able to help people trade much safer than if they were going to trade themselves. And they also have an opportunity also to save. We are even going to make saving very easy. There's a new product that will be coming out in a few weeks where people are also able to save in a very transparent way, where they are also able to take advantage of currencies like the dollar. And just having some foresight, dollar might not be the only thing that we might even need to be saving in. We might need to start saving in some stronger currencies like maybe like the Chinese
yeah.
currency and co. So opportunities like that is what Jáwó is trying to do. And we are trying to simplify the technology where people can take advantage of making profit from systems like blockchain, to save and to also trade in a way that is less complex. And that even a newbie can take advantage of that and just earn some good returns for themselves and even mitigate their risk. So for instance, the crypto market now, a lot of people are shouting blood. Some people's portfolio self has reduced by over 50%, and it's not their fault. And so what a system like ours does is, knowing the experience and using artificial intelligence and also the experience of our traders, even when those kind of losses come, we have found a way, because we are also in that space, to ensure that people's losses are not the kind that can send them back to their village, which is and their profits also is something that they can get without them needing to have too much of technical expertise. Yeah.
I'm really such a big fan of your branding. Even from the logo here, you can see the way it's spelt. That's Jáwó.
Yes.
And
Yes.
what is this called again? This package is called what? What is this?
Which
I'm
which one? Let
clicking
me
on.
look at it.
Can you see the first one? It looks like an egg, and then there's one that looks like a lightning bolt.
Let
The
me check.
packages you have.
Where is it?
I can still remember talking about
Okay,
them.
yes, there's hacking, there's okay, that one you clicked on is
Yeah,
JJ. We
JJ.
are Africa to the world. JJ is like easy, there's
Okay,
JJ, then there's Dede, the next one is Dede, and there's
okay,
hacking. Hacking is the guy who is the lady who is bold. So those are trading plans depending on your level of risk. So
okay.
it's almost the same thing you have in normal financial system, where you see some plans are mild, some are moderate, then some are aggressive. So Akin is the aggressive, the one that has the highest risk and also the highest potential for returns. While JJ is the more safer one, Dede is the one in the middle, which is the moderate. Mm.
Fantastic, fantastic.
Yes,
And of course, you're always available. I know you're always available on LinkedIn to have conversations with us, to talk to us about
definitely.
what all we need to know. Thank you so much for
A
joining
pleasure.
us on the
Thank you
podcast.
for having me.
All right, then, Toby, make sure you have a great day. And for all of you that tuned in today, if you would like to be a part of the Blockchain Mastery podcast, maybe you have a few questions you would like to answer or ask, maybe you would like to make a personal contribution, you can always just send us an email. That's dynamitepodcastnetwork@gmail.com. Dynamitepodcastnetwork@gmail.com. Send us an email and our team will get back to you. All right, then. Once again, take care, Toby.
Thank you, Billionaire Titi.
There's so much happening in the world of blockchain. And I even have a news update here for you as well. I always try to make sure that we have a proper news update for you before we wrap it up. Now, it's interesting. On June 12th, Bank of China, China's investment bank, a subsidiary of BOCI, announced the issuance of 200 million Chinese yuan. That's about $28 million worth of digital structured notes minted on the Ethereum blockchain. Imagine that. And now the move makes BOCI the first Chinese financial institution to issue a tokenized security in Hong Kong. Investment banking company UBS helped originate the product for placement to its client in the Asia Pacific region. Ying Wang, the deputy CEO of BOCI, commented and said, working together with UBS, we're driving the simplification of digital asset markets and products for customers in Asia Pacific through the development of blockchain-based digital structured products designed specifically for customers in Asia Pacific. Toby just mentioned that we might want to start looking into yen and yuan. And yeah, it does seem like they are a step ahead. Simultaneous to the development, UBS has been expanding its tokenization across structured products, fixed income, and repo financing. And the firm issued a $50 million tokenized fixed rate note in December 2022 under English and Swiss law, digitized on a permissioned blockchain. Now, it's been reported online that Hong Kong opened crypto exchange access for retail users on June 1st. And roughly 2 weeks later, Joseph Chan Hon Lim, Undersecretary for Financial Services and the Treasury for the Government of Hong Kong, stated that the Special Administrative Region is actively participating in the blockchain industry and aims to establish a framework for stablecoin regulation within 1 year. So there are great things happening in the world of blockchain. And hey, it might interest you to know that on June 13th, German footwear conglomerate Puma launched its 3D metaverse experience, Black Station. Now, as told by developers, Black Station is an experiential home for product drops built to provide an unbridled access for non-fungible token holders. So it's called Puma Pass. Yeah, the firm is saying that the experience is for everyone to explore, but only those possessing the RB tokens airdropped to Puma Pass holders. Now they can purchase digital rule breaker sneaker and claim 2 digital wearables. And at the time of this particular report, RB tokens currently had a price tag of 0.0125 Ether. And if you don't own an RB token, there's still so much to explore. Ankai, their city in the clouds, and Unter, their exhilarating club below, both are filled with mysteries and explore and collect. And the holders of the RB token can burn them from June 13th, that's 2 days ago, to June 20th on Black Station, granting their parent wallet access to various product drops in the metaverse. According to its roadmap, Black Station is going to have a few more general events and NFT drops this year, with 2024 events still in development. Can't wait to see where that is going. If the fashion people are jumping on board, who are we to not get on the train? There's still so much more to learn. It's all about blockchain technology and the opportunities and possibilities for the future. Until next time, thank you so much for